Howdy folks, Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer, and I'm going to repeat that, your resident vintage gamer. I'm doing that for a couple people's benefit there, because I did get some feedback on some recent videos, and these particular people couldn't quite figure out why I was excited about Baldur's Gate 3, because they were referencing the fact that it was the games were old. The Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 were old, and it's 2019. And so I wanted to make sure I got that vintage part out there, because I'm a vintage gamer and I like vintage games. So in case there was any question, for those of you that asked, that's the reason I'm excited, because I'm a vintage gamer and I like vintage games. And if a lot of you that are watching this probably like them too, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this channel. So, in the spirit of all that, we found out yesterday that the Intellivision Amico console that is scheduled for next year, release next year, they showed looks like 5 different colors that the console is going to be available in. Metallic pearl, obsidian black, vintage wood grain, which is the to match what the original console looked like, and GTO red with carbon fiber, and galaxy purple. Those are the colors that are going to be available. I will put a link down below to the website so that you can go check that out for yourself and see the actual colors on the console and all that. But I thought, because Intellivision is making a comeback with this console, and by the way, the console looks frickin' beautiful. It's it's got lights all around it so that it matches the color of the console, and then they light up as you're playing, and everything. It's really stylish and all that. The controllers are Wi-Fi. I mean, they're doing it the right way. And apparently at E3 this week, there's something like 22 games that are going to, the initial 22 that are going to be on it, are available for play if you're at E3. They have not released the list of what games those are. So it's kind of one of those, like, I hope for some of my favorites are in there, and I'm sure other people are thinking the same thing that are old Intellivision players. So what I thought I would do is I just kind of go through some of the highlights of what was available back in the day. And to kind of get everybody up to speed, the original Intellivision console was way ahead of its time. There were a lot of firsts that the Intellivision console did in the world of gaming. It was the first one to ever have a voice synthesizer, where the games actually had voices talking back to you. Believe it or not, like Atari did not have anything like that, and the 2600 or anything, there was no voices, no voice modulation of any kind. The Intellivision was the first console to have a licensing deal with Major League Sports. So you had you had NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL, all that. They were the first ones. I think NHL too, and just a whole bunch of them. But like, yeah, they had like, and then there's the NFL football. And so way before, EA ever thought about having sports games, licensed sports games, Intellivision did it way back in the day. And they were pretty decent. I mean, for the day, for a 16-bit system, they were fun. So, another first was the very first real-time strategy game, right there, Utopia. You basically had an island, and you could play against the computer that had the other island, or you could play 2-player, and you each had an island, and you had to build it up a la like SimCity or Civilization or whatever. Basically, you did the same thing. You could have ships, and you had fishing vessels that would go out and get resources for you. This was the first one, and there's a picture of it on the back there. Very primitive, I know, but we'll just do that, and you guys take a look at it. But it was the very first one. Before SimCity, before Civilization, before any of those, this was the first. Speaking of, yeah, there's the one of the voice modulation. The voice synth, you had a separate expansion that actually plugged into your Intellivision console. It was a voice synthesizer, and then they had special games like this that would plug into that, and then you would actually have voices in the game. By the way, B17 Bomber, one of the best vintage games ever. I mean, this game had, I mean, you could be in the B17 Bomber, manning a machine gun, fighting off enemy aircraft trying to shoot you down. You could be in the bomb. You could be the bombardier with trying to hit the target below, dropping the bombs. You could be the pilot. You know, you had to be the pilot to control the plane and everything. Way ahead of its time. So I'm hoping that a lot of these make their way back. That in this new version that they're going to do, and they're even saying that there's going to be some new games that they're going to be making for it. They got a lot of talent from the original Intellivision, people that are still around that are going to help, and if it comes out the way that they say it is and with what they're offering, I think it'll be fantastic. Because they're saying a cartridge will be like between $7.99 and $11.99 per cartridge, compared to like modern games. You know, that's pretty cool. You know, and I'm not, when I say cartridge, I shouldn't even say that. Per game, I'm sure it's going to be digital. It'll all be digital. There's not going to actually be cartridges, but you knew what I meant. They also had third-party deals with some other developers to make games for the Intellivision. These were the Eyemagic. These silver chrome-looking ones were by Eyemagic, and they made some of the most inventive games back in the day. I mean, some of them hold up. So this was Microsurgeon, where you actually go into, you basically are a miniature. It's like you control miniature robots going in there and killing disease and all that. That's why it's called Microsurgeon, because it's micro and you're going in through the body, you're going through the blood vessels, and just kind of like there was a movie, and the name of it escapes me. I think it was the Amazing Journey or something like that, where they get miniaturized and they get sent into a body to basically try to cure it from the inside as these miniature little microscopic people in there trying to kill the disease or whatever in a specially made ship that got miniaturized too. That's basically what this is. And they had combat simulators like Sea Battle, which was fantastic. You had a whole fleet at your disposal of different ships. You had mine layers. You could lay mines for, and you played this in 2-player, and you're laying mines, but the other person cannot see where you're laying them. They have mine sweep, and then conversely, that person would have a mine sweeper if they wanted to try and sweep for mines to try and find them, or they could take the approach of sending out something, you know, hardcore like a battleship or a carrier or something like that. But then they risked hitting your mines if they didn't send out the sweeper first. But the mine sweeper was very vulnerable. So there was always a trade. There's all this strategy going on. Another great game. They had deals with movie studios. Here's like the original Tron. This is one. They had several Tron games, but this was Deadly Discs. This game, man, oh man, so many hours trying to complete this and kill the end boss. I mean, it was hard and long, and you had to kill, you're basically in this big arena, and you're throwing these discs around to kill your opponents and everything, and they bounce, they ricochet, and all this, and so you had to try and kill your opponents and everything without getting hit by one of these, and so you had to watch yours that would ricochet back. You had to watch theirs that were ricocheting all over the place. And as the game progresses, there's more and more opponents released upon you. So there's more of these friggin' discs flying everywhere, and you're trying to dodge them while you're trying to throw yours and everything, and they get harder and faster. And then some of them come out with stun guns, and they can stun you. And oh yeah, that's a crazy game and a lot of fun. And then finally, these are just, I have a ton more games for the Intellivision, but these were just the highlights. And then they had the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons license. See if I can do. There we go. There you go. This was the first one, the very first D&D computer game, and then you had this Treasures of Tarman, and the Treasures of Tarman was actually first person. That one you actually went through a dungeon first person. This one was isometric, so this one looked like, kind of looked like that. So, but this one was first person. You would actually go through the hallways and just like a dungeon and so forth. Again, this is just a taste of all the games that I have. I probably have 100 games for the old Intellivision. I still have my Intellivision. It's still hooked up. It still works, including the IntelliVoice adapter for the voice modulation games and all that. But anyway, I'll put the link below. You guys can go check out the Amico if it's something you're interested in. I've heard that Atari is going to do something similar. There's going to be a retro. This is separate from the ones that you've seen out there that are like the little mini preloaded ones. There's apparently a new updated Atari console similar to this that's also, I think it's called, I want to say it's the Atari VCS is what they're calling it, or something like that. I have not done any research on that because I had a 2600 back when I was a kid. I don't know whatever happened to it, and I do not have one now because I was an Intellivision person all the way. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this little blast from the past about Intellivision, and the fact that the Intellivision console, the Amico, is supposed to release next year. So fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. And until next time, guys, we will catch you on the flip side.